Call the Board of Selectmen's meeting to order. First item is stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. First item on the agenda is the approval of regular session meetings for Friday, October 30th, 2015.
Motion to approve the meeting minutes from Friday, October 30th, 2015.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? Courtney, pull the board.
Selectman Becker?
Yes.
Selectman Jolda?
Yes.
Selectman Durgevich?
Yes.
Chairman Board?
Yes. Next is the executive session meetings for Friday, October 3rd, 2015.
Motion to approve the executive session minutes from Friday, October 30th, 2015.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any other discussion? Courtney, pull the board.
Selectman Becker?
Yes.
Selectman Jolda?
Yes.
Selectman Durgevich?
Yes.
Chairman Board?
Yes. Next set of minutes is from regular session, November 4th, 2015.
Motion to approve the regular session meeting minutes from November 4th, 2015.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any other discussion? Courtney, pull the board.
Selectman Becker?
Yes.
Selectman Jolda?
Yes.
Selectman Durgevich?
Yes.
Chairman Board?
Yes. Next set of minutes is the regular session from Monday, November 9th, 2015.
Motion to approve the meeting minutes from Monday, November 9th, 2015.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. Any other discussion? Courtney, pull the board.
Selectman Becker?
Yes.
Selectman Jolda?
Yes.
Selectman Durgevich?
Yes.
Chairman Board?
Yes. Next is the regular session meetings for Monday, Monday, November 23rd, 2015.
Motion to approve the meeting minutes from Monday, November 23rd, 2015.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any other discussion? Courtney, pull the board.
Selectman Becker?
Yes.
Selectman Jolda?
Yes.
Selectman Durgevich?
Abstain.
Chairman Board?
Yes. Next item on the agenda is the town treasurer, town-owned property auction.
Mr. Chairman, I asked Mr. Chauvin to come before you this evening. We are proposing an auction of town-owned properties that are listed in the proposed contract. We've provided you with property record cards for each of these properties. This was spearheaded by Treasurer Chauvin, and this is the first time that the town is endeavoring this. Other communities do this. They use the same auctioneer. He's very successful. He works with the Commonwealth quite frequently with sale of some of their properties. This was a decision by the finance team together, and these properties have all been vetted by the collector, the assessor, and the treasurer. And if you have any questions, Mr. Chauvin is here.
We'll try to answer them, yes. Good evening.
Thank you, Jimmy. Any questions for the,
No, just a good job finally getting some movement on some of these houses.
This is probably, if this goes well, we have others.
Good.
if we do this, when will,
February 5th.
February 5th?
If the agreement is signed tonight, we're shooting for February 5th at 12 o'clock.
It's just these.
Yes,
So it'd be
the
online
the
also?
6 pieces of property.
So it'd be all of them at the same time?
Yes, yep, yep.
Jimmy,
We've had-
would they do like in hand and online? Is that how they do that?
He's got, Zico's group takes care of everything. They'll have it on our website. There's gonna be handouts. He's gonna advertise it. We've already had a lot of interest in this.
Good.
It is a live auction. It's held here at noontime.
Yep, in the auditorium.
It takes till
Oh,
around,
downstairs.
yeah, till around 2 p.m., I guess. It takes about
Yep.
2 hours, but it's a live auction. People are invited to come that morning and tour the properties if they'd like to. Could you give us, the board, an update just on the 127 letters that you sent out?
Oh, for the tax titles?
Yes, please.
The second week of November, my office sent out 127 letters to people that are on our tax titles. Some of them range from $5,000 all the way up to $80,000. Out of the 127, 40 of them came back, undeliverable, wrong address. About 15 to 17 people came in, showed interest. Just from those letters, my office brought in $39,800. Since July, my office has brought in $167,000 in back tax titles. It's a small number compared to what is still outstanding, but we feel as though it's a great accomplishment and stuff to get people interested. There will be another letter, a second letter, going out in the middle of January. The end of January, I will be sending probably 5 to 6 tax title properties to our law firm that handles the foreclosures. It's something I don't want to do, but we have to do it. So, and then those property, a year and a half, they get foreclosed, they come back to the town, and then we can auction them and make money. It's not so important on these 6 properties how much money we take in. The idea is to clean the houses up. There's been break-ins in a couple of them. Take the insurance that the town is paying for liability on these, and the main thing is to put them back on the tax titles. If we can get these 6 properties in the hands of contractors, they renovate them, they resell them, or if they keep them, that's a potential $10,000, $12,000 a year in revenue that we can just keep generating every year. The more houses we do like this to get them back on the tax roll, that's how this is gonna get cleaned up. So I'm just here if there's any questions that I can answer, or I can get you the information.
Any questions? Jim, of the 127 letters, how much was the total tax that was owed at that point? You said you collected 167,000.
Well, that's since July. That was since July. Out of the 127 letters, we brought in 39,000.
And of the 127 letters, what was the total that was being requested to be paid?
Probably about $2 million.
Okay.
There's probably $80,000 on our tax title of unknown property. We'll never collect that, okay? But the other part, the $2 million, that is still accessible. We have to work for that. We're gonna have to work to go get it, or send it to the lawyers to foreclose on the property. And the more money we make, the more money I have to start sending to the attorneys. The foreclosure process costs anywhere between $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, depending on how much time it spends in land court.
Unfortunately, this is a process that is time-consuming and, of course, takes funding through our tax title attorney. And the only way that we have to fund this is on our recap every year, our recap sheet. We have, for the past several years, appropriated about $20,000 a year in order to be able to do this. We don't include it in the normal budget, in the regular budget. If there is available funding capacity on the recap, that's where we put it, so.
Good. And I assume, you know, the sealed bid process was thought of, and this is a better process, live auction?
Yes.
Pam and I and the finance team met with Mr. Zikos. This is what he does.
Okay.
He seems to feel with an open auction, we're gonna draw a lot of interest. This is uncharted territory. The contractors, we're gonna be drawing people from out of town, out of state maybe. All right? This has never been done in Webster. They know if this starts, they have a potential for property that they've never seen before. So he was excited, and we were excited to see him excited.
So I guess the only other question is, and Mark may have thought of this, but the question of, will there be a live auction on the internet as well?
No,
Will people
no.
participate? They will
No,
not.
just here, yes. You show up, you bid. The only reason, like for the internet and stuff, is you have to be in good standing with the town. All your taxes have to be paid. You can't owe taxes and come here and bid and buy a property. So this is our first one. We're gonna do it live. So it has a potential and stuff, but like I said, the more important thing is not how much money we bring in to get these properties back on the tax roll.
And fix
And
it up.
that's what we need to do.
Right.
Yeah, fix it up so that we don't have a liability.
So what do you need, a vote to accept the
A
contract?
vote and the
Yeah, I'll
signing
make a
contract.
motion, we accept the contract with Mr. Zikos.
I'll second.
Motion has been made and seconded. Any other discussion? Courtney, poll the board.
Selectman Becker?
Yes.
Selectman Jolda?
Yes.
Selectman Dugovich?
Yes.
Chairman Bohr?
Yes. Nice job, Jerry.
Thank you, and I hope you will all come to the auction. Thank you very much.
Good luck. Next item on the agenda is the Thai Lemongrass LLC, the wine and malt pouring license application for 129 East Main Street.
So, Mr. Chairman, let me just explain, because there has been some questions. You are all aware that an establishment, you'll see here, Thai Lemongrass is petitioning the town for a wine and malt pouring license, and then the next agenda item is a BYOB license or permit application. They cannot hold both. However, Thai Lemongrass wishes to open and have the ability to serve alcohol either way. The Board of Selectmen has the ability to issue the BYOB license here locally with no additional approvals required, so that could be done quite quickly. If the Board of Selectmen votes to approve their wine and malt pouring license, there is one issue. We do not have a certificate of good standing from the establishment yet. That is required before Courtney can send in her paperwork to the ABCC for approval. So if the board so chooses, they can vote to approve pending the receipt of their certificate of good standing. Once that's done, Courtney will send in the paperwork. It could take 2-3 months sometimes. So in the meantime, the board could vote to approve the BYOB, and they could, they would be able to serve alcohol that way. Now, with the BYOB, we are going to ask that it's actually a public hearing that was advertised and everything. We're actually going to ask that that be continued because in reviewing our policy with regard to the BYOB license application process, there are some things that are missing. It's required that we have a report from our police, fire, inspectional services departments. We don't have that yet. The establishment is not open yet, therefore has not been subject to an inspection or anything like that. So we're going to ask that the board continue the public hearing on the BYOB. Again, if you wish to approve the wine and malt, subject to our receipt of their certificate of good standing, then once Courtney receives that, she can send that into ABCC. Hopefully, at our next meeting, they will be open, have been subject to an inspection by Board of Health, fire inspections, and then you can act on the BYOB.
So if we approve, or if we make a decision on the wine and malt pouring license, they ultimately could be potentially open by our next meeting, is what you're saying, correct?
They could open without either.
Right, but it's gonna take them 3 to 4 months to get that liquor license, right? To
Correct.
get the wine and pouring license, okay.
It could take up to 3 or 4 months,
Okay.
yes.
Any other questions from the board?
I looked at the application, everything looks proper, so I'll make a motion to approve and help them get on their way to open and be successful.
I'd second, but just, I guess, with the comment that we'd be waiting for the
Yeah.
certificate of good
Yep.
standing.
Motion has been made and seconded. Any other discussion? Courtney, poll the board.
Selectman Becker?
Yes.
Selectman Jolda?
Yes.
Selectman Dugovich?
Yes.
Chairman Bohr?
Yes. The next item was the BYOB license application, which we will table that. And the next item is Webster Gas Corporation denial of utility abatement appeal decision. Duran and Mr. Kazami, if you can come forward, please. Duran, thank you for coming in. They were, I know that we visited this once, but there was another question that came up in regards to it, so we wanted to get your opinion on this?
Well, when the leak occurred, I visited the station, and it was agreed by everyone that the water did pass through the meter and ultimately did flow into the sewer system. So from a water purveyor standpoint, the charges are due. If we, and once again, I'm looking at it purely from a water purveyor standpoint, if we abate the charges, in essence, we're subsidizing the operation on the backs of all of the other ratepayers. And I can certainly understand looking at it from a hardship standpoint, but it's a fine line that we need to walk to be able to grant an abatement from a hardship standpoint and not make the remaining ratepayers pay an excessive amount.
What was the reasoning for the spike again? Because this was a while ago.
There was a pressure reducer in the facility that had sprung a leak.
Okay.
No, you have to, excuse me, I wasn't here for the original hearing. So how long was it leaking before anyone knew about it?
Probably a couple of months.
Yeah, it was a substantial amount of time.
The quorum.
Yeah, the site had the water run in excess or an increased amount of 39,000 cubic feet, so it was running for a fair amount of time.
And it wasn't going into the ground, it was going into
No,
the sewer?
it was going into a drain and into the sewer.
And it does, in looking at the readings, there does seem to be a spike, a natural timing type spike. I assume it has to do with winter, so the average isn't really 40 for this particular quarterly bill. If you go back to the quarters of the previous 2 years, it was
Correct.
60,000, then 67,014.
Yeah.
So you would naturally expect it to be, at least 67,000 or more if there's more volume of cars.
Correct. If you go over an annual average, it's a 40,000 increase. But if you go from season to season, if you go back 4 quarters and then 4 quarters from there, it looks like it's 15 to 20,000.
Right, in spite of,
Seasonal.
you're right, I question, I'm not sure what will happen with it, but in spite of the questioning here, it isn't really a 40,000 average, it's really 67 or 70,000.
Right, because if we look at this, it looks like from the same time frame 2 years before that,
But it was
April
60,
29th, 2013,
It was 67.
right?
60, 67, and then
I did.
Then a
82.
year later,
And then the
2014,
main problem was
it was 67. The year before that, it was 60, and then there was a big jump to 82. How would you have known that there was a leak, or how did you find
I
out?
called the water department. They did a test. JJ came and did a test.
Yeah, but that was from, you called because of a high bill.
High bill,
correct?
I
I
would think.
called because
Okay,
of the
yeah.
bill.
so you had no idea?
Once I
It
got
was
the bill,
leaking
I saw
once you got the
10,000.
bill.
I've never had 10,000,
Right.
usually 6,000, 5,000. But the main leak caused by the main line coming from the town was too much pressure, over 90 pounds. When the car wash people came and fixed it, that's why the pressure reducer failed. It was too much pressure coming from the main line from the town.
Right.
Do you have something in writing?
Yeah, I gave it to the water department.
There is a letter stating that it was repaired, but 90 pounds water pressure in a water system is by no means excessive.
I don't know exactly how much, but it was, yeah, 90 pound, that pressure is supposed to be like 40 pounds.
Yeah, but 90 pounds in our system that's a standard amount of water pressure that we like to see, actually. When you get up in the range of 150 pounds per square inch of pressure, that becomes excessive, and a pressure reducer is recommended. But 90 pounds is not excessive.
When it was originally installed, was a pressure reducer recommended?
Yeah.
Uh,
I don't believe it was recommended by the water department.
No,
I mean,
by the machines,
Mhm.
otherwise it won't.
So when the business originally operated, when it opened up, did the people installing it say, hey, 90 is too much, and we need a...
I'm unable to answer
Okay,
that.
'cause it doesn't sound as though the town was ever told of that.
Right,
if it was.
right. And like I say, that goes back.
I mean, they have it
long
written
before.
down, if you wanna see it. The company, when they fix it, they
Mhm.
came and they wrote it down.
Mhm. If you wouldn't mind, I'd be happy to read their report to you. It's one paragraph.
Sure.
The company relocated and set up all new pumps and regulators on all pressure functions on self-serve. Troubleshot and adjusted all functions on self-serve. This included custom-built bracket system to hold new setups. We cleaned out all generators in the attic to correctly run all low-pressure functions. Replaced the foam line on the boom in bay 1. Replaced flow jet on the triple foam unit compressor, and the compressor had 15 gallons of water in the tank. Drained the water tank and cleared all lines of water. Plumber was on site and found a bad pressure regulator going to the water storage tanks, which he replaced on self-serve. The pressure was at 90 psi, which is over the pressure rating for the float valve. Because of the high pressure coming into the building, the Roberts float valve was held open, gushing water. We replaced the damaged Roberts valve and set pressure to 40 pounds. We replaced the Roberts valve for the water storage and adjusted the float. Between a bad pressure regulator and the water in the compressor tank, they were most responsible for the damage caused to the self-serve, which included water leaks in the water storage tank.
So the valve itself had to be replaced, and is that the responsibility of the owner or the town?
That's strictly the owner.
And what's to prevent this from happening again?
To prevent the leak from occurring, it's just a routine inspection of the system. I don't know if you go down.
They said the 90 pound, high pressure, that's why.
Well, that's what a water pressure reducer valve does. It takes from high to
Right, but
low.
that's why it's failed, because too much pressure.
Well, I don't know about that, but I would say that the job of a water reducing valve, they know that there's high pressure coming from this side, and it reduces it. So the failure of the valve is what sounds like the proximate cause.
Yes.
And is that just something that the owner has to inspect every now and then, or?
Precisely.
Like when I talked to them, they told me the main problem was, you see, they know better. I don't really know how they said it was too much pressure come from the main line. That's what caused that pressure reducer to. I can have him write down some whatever I have. I mean, he wants me to do. I can have him.
Well, for instance, if the pressure valve is 10 years old, well, the pressure valve has a life of 2 years, then I would feel differently if the pressure valve was brand new and there was so much pressure that it burst the valve. I'm not mechanically oriented enough to know the difference.
How long has that station been there with the car wash?
2006.
Okay, and I guess the question would be is when was that valve inspected? I don't know if it's this big, but when was it inspected?
You see, they do routine inspection every year. Like that stuff they did.
So
that's not part of this problem. They just come yearly, like
So it is
sometime
inspected every
slow
year?
season, and they do everything. Like every year, because you have.
So essentially, we're talking about 15,000 gallons. What's the cost of
Cubic feet.
Okay, cubic feet. What's the cost on that, about $700?
Just bear with me while I do my math.
Did you pay the bill?
I pay the average bill. Yeah, the only thing left.
Is the
When
15?
Was the rest like 444. That's.
Well, according to the average, you were over about 15,000 gallons.
I pay like 6,000 and something. That's when I talked to Don.
That's the payment of the bill.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, if you, we're looking at the 67,000 from the previous year in April, and then 82,000 now, so that's the difference of 15,000.
About
I
15,000.
mean, chances are it probably increased just naturally due to volume, because it went from 60,000 2 years ago to 67,000
It's
Right.
like
a
seasonal
year ago.
too.
But
Right.
Using very rough
Yeah,
numbers,
seasonal.
I'm between 1,000 and 1,100. like I say, I don't have the precise numbers in front of me, but that's roughly what I get. That's a ballpark number.
What's the pleasure of the board?
No, I was under the impression that it hadn't gone into the system. I thought it went into the ground and it wasn't accessible because of the winter. That's what I was told.
When
So I wasn't here for the first meeting.
When I went out to the site, I believe you informed me that it did go into the sewer, correct?
I mean, whatever the,
That's the way it was explained to me when I visited the site. I did not observe where the water discharged.
So we don't really know where the water went?
I can go out there tomorrow and let the board know if that is the...
Well, that would be a
design.
big thing, yeah,
Mhm.
I think, at least, and if it did go into the system, then we're talking about $1,100, and maybe we can work out a payment plan for them with the town, just to get that caught up and end it at some point. But let's see if it even went into the system. So this way we'll know what we're dealing with.
Yeah, if it went into the system, then it would be water and sewer. If it didn't go into the system, it would be water only, obviously.
Right.
How are we gonna know if it did go into the,
I'd have to do a visual inspection from the location of the leak and to see if there's a drain nearby that is connected to the sewer.
okay.
And if we're going to wait, I would suggest just asking the company that does the work, have they ever replaced that valve? Is it a 9-year-old valve? We should find that out. Again, I'd hate to be back here 5 years from now
Right.
blaming the valve,
Right,
when it isn't really the town's, job to inspect valves.
Is, by us putting this off, does it affect anything on his side, operation-wise?
Whose side?
But he
Um,
paid his bill.
No, he didn't pay the whole thing, he said he
Yeah,
only
it's
paid.
just that
he paid the average,
15,000
right?
gallons is being contention. So
It doesn't affect him in any way?
No, I mean, we can confirm what was paid on the bill and all of that. Let Doran do his site inspection, and then we can report back to the board.
Okay, because the next time we meet is
The 11th.
The 11th of
January
January.
11th, so
Mhm.
there's no, because of the taxes and water bills and all that stuff, that won't affect him in any way?
No, you paid your current sewer and water bill that was due last week?
yeah,
Yes. Okay.
but I didn't pay the,
Right, this was
That
from
part of-
before, but your current bills
Yeah,
are paid,
yeah.
yep,
Right.
so.
You would just hold off.
All right, so
on
just the
interest
disputed amount you
on the
didn't pay?
dispute.
Okay. So why don't we do that? Why don't we table it for now, you can find out, and then come back to us, and then, like Selectman Becker said, you can find out from your company how many times they've gone out there and had to change the valve, and do they go out there every year, and find out that too, and have them put whatever in writing to the board.
okay.
Are we comfortable with that?
Sure.
And is a report just in writing from Superintendent Kraus?
Yep.
Okay.
We're good with that?
Yep.
Okay. Good. All right.
Okay,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Next item on the agenda is National Grid continuation of poll hearing on South Main Street.
So gentlemen, last time National Grid was before us, and they came before us for relocation hearing for the pole on South Main Street here that's been a hot topic of discussion at our Police Fire Building Committee meetings since day one of this project. After that meeting, I scheduled a meeting through Superintendent Pizzetti with National Grid. Steve here from National Grid was kind enough to come in, and we met on December 15th about this issue. So Mr. Susi is here from National Grid. He's an engineer with National Grid, and Mr. Pizzetti followed up from our December 15th meeting. I think December 16th, these two gentlemen met with Verizon over at the
Yes.
location, and they had a powwow, so I'll let them handle it from here.
Okay. From the original, the pole location of pole 1, which is right at the curb to the police driveway entrance, We couldn't just move it because Verizon has an underground riser on that. So does Comcast as well. So one of the things we came up with through our meetings is typically for to move a pole and still be within the original petition grant, the maximum distance is 3 feet. So what we could do is, we already have a design already done, already approved, to move it back 3 feet. Verizon said it would move the riser at no charge for that 3 feet. I tried to contact Charter. I wasn't able to get someone to call me back yet. But Verizon and ourselves are the co-owners of all the poles. So we really don't even come across Charter. I know they have a riser, but I really can't honestly tell you what their rules are. But because we're within that 3 feet original location, I'm sure they could, move that as well, because we're not really relocating. Typically, when someone asked us, to relocate a pole because of a driveway or something, we're able to charge them for it. In this case here, because it's such an old pole, we have leeway whether it's system maintenance or a relocation. So National Grid won't charge. So what we can do, and this is already done, move it 3 feet, but we have to support not only the telephone cables that are coming and dead-ending that and going up Lake Street. Jimmy's Convenience Store, he has plans, it's already been filed to really put in a gas station, which he doesn't have, and then really like triple the size of his store. Looking at long-term, he'll have to get primary and a transformer bank. So that would have to have a push brace. So it's basically a pole leaning up in a triangle to do that pole. So just for system improvement, because the new pole we just put in at pole 2 is still starting to lean a little bit, we can take primary from pole 1 to pole 2, put the push brace. It'll be a big enough pole so whenever Jimmy or anyone else in the future is ready to develop that lot, they already have primary to hang up a transformer bank. So we're doing that at system improvement. Typically when a business does go and upgrades, we charge them for upgrading a pole, whether it's for a 35 to a 45. In this case here, and because of the issues you've had with that, we can justify it as system improvement. So talking to the Verizon rep though on Friday, just to clarify, he goes, well, I might be able to get the underground riser off pole 1 altogether. And so we already have an option already done and ready. If you wish to wait, which is why I kind of changed it today, a proposal, then you could relocate or install new pole 1-50. I put it on the petition like 30 feet from its current location. Until I get word from Verizon, that would be a National Grid. If you wanted to relocate a pole, it would be solely owned. And even if Verizon said, no, we can't get off it, we would still replace that pole 3 feet away from its original location and then just transfer ownership to Verizon. But at any time, they could put a push brace or something there too. So, those are kind of a couple of options. One is all said and done, and whenever you decide. One thing you'd have to consider too, if moving up, right now we have a street light on pole 1 for that intersection. Moving it back, and you might have to check with Ken or what the chief thinks on that, 20, 30 feet, it might not be able to light up that intersection properly. That's something you don't have to decide now. You could decide at a later date because the Verizon engineer said it would take him like a couple weeks, 2 or 3 weeks to see if he could reroute it. So it's up to you. You have plan ready to go to put that push brace in and move it 3 feet. And we can relocate it, 20, 30 feet, through the other work request that I petitioned today. But he's not going to know whether he can release ownership or not. So that would be up to you. But that's an update. We have one design ready to go.
They're moving 3 feet.
Yes, if you want to go that and just say, hey, cancel the other work requests, just give us an email and I take the hold off, and typically within 2 or 3 weeks, we can get a pole
I
in the
mean,
ground.
that would be my recommendation, because 3 feet is really all you need to make
Yeah.
that corner a lot easier, not take your door out.
Gentlemen, that's what I was gonna say, is, but, you know, Steve, he has to look at all avenues, National Grid, they have to
Yep.
look at that. But, you know, what we did discuss out there was the basic movement of that 3 feet, which is in their jurisdiction all the time.
And the chief was involved in the conversation. Jimmy was involved in the conversation. Jimmy is here tonight. So everyone was on the same page.
I think that's a great solution.
You know, put that in the form of.
Yeah, I'll certainly make in the form of a motion to accept the proposal at first, Mr. Susi.
Okay, so, I mean, it's almost, so.
We can get rid of the other proposal.
Okay, so work request or this proposal for 21011-380, I guess you could like reject that petition. And then, just talking to the legal department, a push brace isn't, you know, to them, it's considered a supporting fixture. So we already have the grant for pole 1, so we already have permission to, you know, erect either an anchor or a push brace when we feel the need to. So there's no need to do anything for pole 1. It's just, if you want to go with that, what we discussed, put the push brace in and you're happy with the looks, we can get that quick. And what will happen is we'll put in the ground, put the push brace, we'll put the primary. We can't remove the old pole until Verizon gets off, until Charter gets off. So Verizon's on board with that. If you just want to go the 3 feet, I'll email there and say, hey, we're just going 3 feet, so you don't have to do that. Try to schedule it quickly. And the big thing would be Charter. I haven't talked to anyone in Charter. Yeah, so when everything is off, I mean, you can, or people would email say, hey, there's just a pole with nothing on it, then we'll come and remove that pole.
And again, no cost from
Yes.
National Grid, no cost from Verizon
For that 3 feet.
for the 3 feet.
Charter, I haven't talked to. So verbally, the Verizon rep said, he doesn't know. And even for Charter, because it helps that we're only doing the 3 feet within the original petition grant. So it's not really a relocation.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any other discussion?
Mr. Chairman, I believe this also, doing it this way, does also help Jimmy too with his plans and going forward. It may assist him with how he,
Yeah, once it's done. I mean, nothing
Right.
needs to be, we have everything we need to support everything.
so he won't have any additional cost to him.
Yeah,
either.
he's gonna be saving primary span, which would
Yes.
have to pay, and upgrading a pole, which normally would have to pay. So he's getting a good deal off this and
Right.
compensate for the push brace.
So just being a good neighbor, and the chief, it alleviates his concerns. And I think Mr. Pizzetti had some concerns as far as the push brace, but you're okay with that now?
Yeah, no, I mean,
Okay.
that's the bottom line.
Pam, I have to, if you wanted to give these are just the specs from what a push brace and how we're gonna install it,
Yeah, I
so.
mean, you can see the tension on that pole. It's listed
Yeah.
Right.
pretty heavily.
Well,
And pole 2 is leaning that way a little bit too. I want to stabilize that for the future as well, because that's an underground feed, and that's something I don't want to get any worse.
Any other discussion from the board? Courtney, from the board?
Selectman Becker?
Yes.
Selectman Jolda?
Yes.
Selectman Degevich?
Yes.
Chairman Bork?
Yes. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, gentlemen, for getting together and taking care of this so quickly. Thank you.
Next item is the acting town administrator's report.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, passed it out already, so I attended a Trustees of Soldiers Monuments meeting on Tuesday, December 8th. I attended a SWEC Board of Directors meeting on Thursday, December 10th. I attended a retirement reception on Thursday, December 10th, in honor of Dispatcher James Persianheim, who retired on December 12th after 28 years of service to the town of Webster. I met with Police Chief Bent, Highway Superintendent Pizzetti, and Mr. Susi on December 15th regarding the South Main Street pole relocation. I met with School Superintendent Malkus and Assistant School Superintendent for Business Avlis on December 15th regarding the FY 2017 budget. This was a preliminary discussion. Of course, this will be ongoing. They've started their process, their preliminary process in the school department, and I have a department head meeting scheduled for January 4th, and the town side will be starting our budget process that day. I attended a library planning and building committee meeting on December 17th, and I attended a meeting with representatives from Webster, Dudley, and Southbridge on December 17th regarding the Quinnebog River Rail Trail Bikeway. Under departmental updates and announcements, the town collector, the FY16 third quarter actual real estate and personal property tax bills are scheduled to be mailed on Tuesday, December 29th, and are due on Monday, February 1st. Again, the Webster Police Department's coat drive. The Webster Police Department is currently conducting their annual coat, hat, and gloves drive. All sizes from children to adult are accepted. Articles of clothing should be clean and wearable. Winter coats, hats, and gloves may be dropped off at the Webster Police Department anytime during winter months. Donated items will be brought to the Webster Food Share for distribution. Under the Water Department, Water Superintendent Kraus reports that as of Friday, December 18th, the department had received a total of 5 water quality complaints since December 1st. That is a complete turnaround. The Memorial Beach Station is expected to be back online tomorrow, December 22nd, and we anticipate the receipt of a formal notification from Mass DEP that we are in full compliance with our current administrative consent order shortly thereafter. And we just have one thing under action items. We have something for you to sign, an agreement as to subordinated loans for the Sikowski School Apartments. This is their refinancing, and we need, all parties need to sign, so we need the board's signature. Those are in your signature folder. And I have attached a copy of the subordinated loan agreement for your review to my report. And that's it, Mr. Chairman.
I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve the town administrator's report.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any other discussion or questions? Courtney, call the board.
Selectman Becker?
Yes.
Selectman Jolda?
Yes.
Selectman Dugevich?
Yes.
Chairman Borg?
Yes. Under old business, we're going to, at this point, table the signing of the community benefit gift between Town of Webster and Mass Organic, am I correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
We did issue the letter of support after the board's vote at their last meeting, and we were informed, we were notified by Patrick Johnson of Mass Organic Therapy that they have submitted that information to the state, and they were invited to continue on in the process to their site section of the process, and they are using Webster as their site selection for their cultivation facility. So this is just the final piece, and it's just some wording issues. I just want to make sure everyone's on the same page. I did some edits to the agreement they had sent us. I did some minor edits, so I just want to get their approval before I have the board sign.
Next item is the Humphrey correspondence for gas leaks.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I believe it was Selectman Becker who requested follow-up on Mr. Humphrey's letter. Mr. Pizzetti viewed the meeting that evening and is aware of course, National Grid's leak detection process here in town and around the Commonwealth, and asked National Grid to issue a letter to the board, which they did do. So Mr. Pizzetti is here to answer any questions with regard to the letter that National Grid has written in response to the board's concerns.
I wasn't here at the last meeting. How many leaks did they detect throughout the town?
What came out of this, Mark, there was a letter that was sent to the board from, it's like an organization. It's not facts at all. It's very fictional. And as far as National Grid, they were very upset with this. This kind of went to their legal. So this document that had got to the board at the time is totally, it's not even near close of the operation what they got. So for these guys, they had this letter drawn up. There's other action going on, just to give you a summary of what's happening on their end. But as far as National Grid, they've been very aggressive over the last 5 to 10 years. And not only Webster, this whole Worcester County area, because there was a lot of steel gas line that was in this whole area. And that they've been, as you can see, like I said, very aggressive with that nature, fixing these things. So as far as this type of letter that came through from this organization, the numbers here in Webster, they've been really busy around here where we are really low. They're down to what they would call a grade 3 priority, which is, it's non-life threatening, they're smaller things, they're monitored every 6 months, and a game plan for what steel lines are still in Webster are still moving forward. So brief numbers, they don't really like to give numbers out like that, but they did give us an idea that as far as any grade 1s, which are life priority big things like this letter stated, that does not exist. And that does not exist in this whole area, from Worcester to Southbridge. They address that immediately. Those are monitored, these vehicles they have are out all the time, and that pattern changed over 10 years ago. So there's none of that big, nothing would happen. I think the chairman and I were just speaking for a great example. They have a little leak, which is a service leak, which is a grade 2, but yet this group over here in this subdivision for National Grid, that's a number, like a 2 leak, which they address right off. So it's a great example for them where they'd rather do it, come right out and do it, compared to this type of letter they got stating that, nothing's been done almost when you read it since 1997. That's all false.
Yeah, I think the letter referenced also a website. The website indicated, I don't think it indicated dangerous leaks. It indicated leaks that had not been repaired,
Right.
which I would assume would be grade 3 leaks.
Right,
I think the sheer number of them is what caught my attention.
right.
And for a town of our size, there were more than towns of our size. And that's just, I'm only telling you the fact. That's what was on the website. Whether the website is correct.
From that website.
Correct.
Right. Which according to National Grid isn't, we're probably sitting at least under 48, 47 grade 3 leaks in the Webster.
Yeah, because that one I think indicated over 100, and it was based
Right.
on March of 15 data filed by National
Summary
Grid.
they did, right.
But did this group go out and do tests around our town?
No,
To
what
come
they
up
did
with
was they
this?
sent letters, I assume.
Because I
to-
wasn't here, I didn't read that letter, so.
Yeah, it was in our package, and what they did was they just compiled a letter, probably to many towns, who
Right.
were over a certain number, probably for their population, warning. And obviously, it caught, when you mention gas and leaks, it catches your attention.
Yeah, oh yeah, no, it's, I don't know, they didn't really give me any details as far as dealing with this type of organization. As a big company, they were very upset.
Now, there were a number, within the past few weeks, there were a number of diggings that occurred in our roads.
Right.
I'm not talking the fire station, I'm
Right.
talking around
Right.
town. I assume those were repairs
Right,
that were
those-
going on.
Those, like Myrtle Ave, you can see they did approximately 1,200 feet on Myrtle Ave over here, which is a great example of an old gas style that went, from a number 2 area-wise to started approaching number 1. They didn't waste any time on the drawing board with their engineers there. They did it right off over the winter. They knew they had time, and it's a great way to get on. All those other ones, basically some number 1s, some number 3s that are non-threatening, where they let go for like 6 months, a year's time.
Mhm.
Those were what they were addressing, and that's been going on from here to Southbridge, Sutton, Worcester. So that's where you see, Mr. Becker, some of those areas where sometimes they're doing 5, 6 per month.
Right.
And again, it was a type of season where we lost a little bit from that previous winter, how it stayed cold and that, and the biggest thing was for asphalt. Some of those plants that usually stay open year-round, they didn't due to that type of winter, so.
I'm comfortable with the response. I thank Mr. Paczetti
Yeah,
for.
thank you.
Thank you, Kenny. Any other old business?
I got a question on old business. The gun buyback program, how did that go? Was there any word on that?
Yes.
There was an article in the paper.
There was an article in the paper, yes. I apologize. They considered it successful.
Oh, wonderful.
They did take in each of the series of guns. It was revolvers
They
and
were like-
semi-automatics, and they did take in some from each category.
They had some rifles, they had some shotguns, there were some pellet guns, some 22s, some revolvers, and semi-automatics. I think it was around 30, or maybe a little over 30,
I think so.
of which there were 8 pellet guns.
That was it.
They considered it successful, and hopefully they'll do it again, yeah.
Any other old business? New business, the IMA between the town of Sutton and town of Webster for public health nursing services renewal, as we have in front of us.
This is, I think, our probably 4th year with this agreement. This is our intermunicipal agreement with the town of Sutton. We share our public health nurse. She does a wonderful job for us. She is the public health director for the town of Sutton. And unfortunately, it's interesting because the town of Sutton has a similar IMA with another community, or a couple of other communities, I guess. And those other communities did not include, the other agreements are written differently, where there is no from and to in the other agreements, where in our agreement, there is actually language that states that the term shall be from this date to this date and may be extended by mutual agreement of the parties for additional 1-year terms. But in no event may the term of this agreement exceed 25 years. So unfortunately, again, paperwork, we have to come back to each of the boards of selectmen in Sutton and in Webster for your approval each year, wherein the other agreements just roll over unless there's a termination sent to one or the other community.
One suggestion is the next time this comes back a year from now, we make an amendment to the agreement that keeps it in perpetuity with a proper cancellation clause.
Correct.
And we only deal with it one more time until the contract ends in whatever the date was. It was a long time, 25 years.
Right, 25 years.
So, just a thought for the next one. But if it seems to be working well, if you need a vote, I'd certainly recommend
Yes, we need a
approval.
vote, and then we do have the document for you to sign in your signature folder.
So I'd make a motion to recommend approval.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. Any other discussion? Courtney, pull the board.
Selectman Becker?
Yes.
Selectman Jolda?
Yes.
Selectman Dugevich?
Yes.
Chairman Board?
Yes. Any other new business? Informational mail. And we did get a request, which we'll put on the next agenda for the beach committee.
Yes.
And I think we also had a request from Mrs. Keefe to be put on
Yeah,
on a
Yes.
future
I had
agenda.
already, I talked to
Okay.
her about that. We just, I'd seen the letter in here too.
The board also received notification that they voted, the Council on Aging voted 2 new members on the council, so I know the board likes to have appointments in front of you, so that will, Courtney, did we put that on the next agenda also and notify
Yep.
Ms. O'Donnell and Ms. Steiger? Okay, thank you.
Any other business unknown at time of posting? Well, it looks like there's no other business before us.
I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman, we did have a letter also from the chief, Chief Bent, with regards to a house that has been the subject of some arrests with drugs. Is that something that I think the chief was suggesting that the landlord be put on our agenda at some point?
Do we want to do that in executive session?
Let me speak with the chief.
Okay.
We are also, I advised him that, I know that there are other communities out there who have bylaws, which address issues such as this, where landlords, can be fined, for issues such as this that take place at their property, absentee landlords, and held accountable, for these types of things. So the chief and myself are both researching those bylaws, and maybe we can come forward with something that maybe the board can endorse putting on the next town meeting warrant to take care of these things. But let me speak with the chief and see how he wants to handle it.
I think we should have the owner in front of us.
Whether it's executive session or not, this is the second offense.
Yeah,
So,
okay.
Well, there is nothing else in front of us. As a board, we want to wish everyone a Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and everyone have a safe New Year. And I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to adjourn.
second.
Motion has been made and seconded. Any other discussion? Courtney, pull the board.
Selectman Becker?
Yes.
Selectman Jolda?
Yes.
Selectman Doug Evans?
Yes.
Chairman Bork?
Yes, thank you.